train. And use it anytime. I have forgotten my watch at home.
Welcome, of course, to our third and final hour of Smart Minutes Business here in Smart 24 TV, where we drive your business. My name is Mercy Katsime, and of course, thank you for joining us all the way from 7 a.m. We're always here every day from Monday to Friday. And of course, today we're discussing the chronicles of income inequality in Uganda. And I want to see what are the causes, the reasons of disparities between the rich and the poor when it comes to, economic drive. Well, of course, Andrew is out there in field at Moves, and of course, he's going to be, having a guest, and they're going to be, giving us more discussion relating to this matter. Glad to have you, Andrew.
Mercy Katsime, definitely. This is Smart Means Business. Andrew Barije, heading straight into our business inside today. And like I told you, income inequality demographics, which is something that is quite a huge discussion when it comes to the experiences, the day-to-day experiences of a normal Ugandan. Like we got to observe earlier that a huge percentage of the Ugandans own a very small percentage of their incomes, and a big percentage that is with the reports, for example, in the 2017 report, which revealed that about 10% of Ugandans own about 39% of the total incomes, and getting to take a look at only 50% owning just 19% and 10% owning 39%. So you can see 10, 39 and 50 owning 19%. So how does that really interplay out as a result of that? But however, when you take a look at the macroeconomic factors here, as GDP is projected, for example, to grow at 6.5% in this financial year, talking about 2024 when it comes to aspects. And we've also experienced, seen results in terms of progress, talking about industrialization, which is alleged to have created 2 million jobs for 2023, with the anticipations that come 2024 targeting 4 million jobs. As a result of that, well, how is that really viable? We've also experienced increase in exports, most especially coffee, talking about gold, which actually accelerated Uganda's export bills, which is almost totaling to about $600 million. And we're seeing a recovery in foreign direct investment to about $945 million US. But anyway, all these results are out there. But when we take a look at the poverty index, it's quite very alarming. So where is this money going? Why is it that the macroeconomic factors, most especially in the good times, as we have battled with inflation up to 2.6% compared to last year, as of December 2022, the inflation was at 10%. By December 2023, it's been at 2.6%. But for the livelihood of a day-to-day Ugandan, this is not a reality. Now, for this reason, I'm joined with Dr. Muhumuza. Yes, Muhumuza is an economist, definitely, and I'm here at Makerere University Business School to really break down these matters. What is the issue? Why is this really happening? It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Muhumuza. Fred.
It is a pleasure, Andrew, and Happy New Year, our viewers out there, and welcome to the MOBS Economic Forum. MOBS is Makerere University Business School, as is mentioned.
Exactly.
And the Economic Forum is the economic hub of making sure the business school is like a medical school. That we don't just teach business and economics, we actually make sure it impacts the population.
It impacts the population.
Just like you talk of a teaching hospital. It's a hospital much as it teaches.
Oh, okay.
So we're here to follow that model to make sure we teach, but we are also treating the real ailments in the economy that
economy.
people face, yes.
Okay. Now, just like we've I've made an introduction, taking a look at the growth projected growth, talking about 2023, seeing a slight increase when it comes to export earnings,
yes.
you know, and so many more, industrialization, all this. It's great news. It's wonderful to hear. As even some politicians, when they move out there, they spread growth,
yes,
the gospel of growth. But when we come to a day-to-day livelihood of a Ugandan, this doesn't portray out. People are struggling with the debt-to-income ratio. The incomes can't cover up the debt, despite the fact that they are having the least debt. Now, what could be the reason as to why the macroeconomic factors are not playing out with the day-to-day livelihoods of a Ugandan?
I think that's really a very good approach to the conversation. An economy is one system. We just split it up for purposes of monitoring and planning. If the macro, which are the big things, inflation, balance of payments, exports, government budgets, those big things don't translate into the local issues. You're like, you have built a house but which has no chairs and no beds. It's not a house.
It's not.
You can show people that's my apartment. But if there's no bed, no chair, no fridge, no oven, no fireplace, the local person won't feel that house, neither will you.
Yes.
So it is wrong for us to only portray the other side of the story and forget what actually affects the people.
Okay.
Growth is good, but we have put some indicators, and sometimes we use crude indicators. GDP per capita. If I divided the whole of Ugandan economy by the population of 45 million, what does each person get? We know they don't get that.
Exactly.
Because you've just described that 51% are only having about 9%. So what do you do in such circumstances? We follow medical practice, as I've said.
Yeah.
Doctors will say the child is growing, but what is the height for age? What is the weight for age? At this age, where should the child be in terms of height, in terms of weight? Much as the child is adding on age, the weight is not pulling up as it should. So you want to say GDP growth is good. But is it good for the population of 45 million? Bring it that down. Is it good for the number of jobs I need to generate in this economy? So I hear where people say, we are going back to the pre-COVID growth rates. The economy is rebounding. Rebounding to what? Already 6% was a contested growth rate. It shouldn't be your target. If you want to go to university today, don't target to pass with the 2 principles that give you 8 points. No university will take you in.
Yeah.
Target for 18. If you really got a government sponsorship, target for 20.
And at least you get 18.
But even the person with 14 has passed, but not good enough to get to the government scholarship. So you want to say, if I have 18.7 million youth who are categorized as net is they are not in education, they are not in employment, they are not in training.
Education, employment, training.
18.7 million. Because I don't mind if they are not in employment, but because they are in training. That's okay. I don't mind if they are not in training, but they are in employment. But 18.7 are not in employment, not in education, not in training. So what are those youth doing? This economy must answer that. Are you going to answer that with a 6% growth rate? Certainly no. So target yourself 12. And say, unless I hit 8, you guys are not going to go to sleep. But now we are going to sleep because we have converted the 3.4 of COVID into a 5.4. Now we are looking at a 6.4. You are still below par. You are not solving your problem. And therefore, your macro indicator is not speaking to the population that you have.
Okay.
And the population is going to be jittery. Now, the population, you can subdue them. You can understand them. You can engage them. The president will speak. A local leader will speak. Your roads will not understand you. Because they too need maintenance.
Exactly.
They need service. This road you did 7 years ago will be saying, man, the traffic that flows on me, you ought to have given me regular maintenance every year of this much. If you don't, that road is going to tell you, I can no longer carry the traffic. The potholes will emerge.
Okay.
The hospitals, people will turn up and interns will not be paid even when you pay them. They will have no drugs. Even if you buy the drug, there is no cannula. The service, which is the end product, will not be there. So when you look through at all those obligations of the government and the private sector, which the economy must deliver, you want to base on those to revise and say, at what rate therefore should my economy be growing? So that I can speak to the economic growth and people will feel it. So have that disconnect, that the economy is growing too slow to meet its obligations for people to feel it.
Okay.
Like we've said, fine, you're feeding the child, but the doctor is saying age is passing because that will always pass. Today is 2024. A child who was 1 year last year is now 2 years.
2 years, yes.
But has the feeding of this child translated into that weight that this child should have at 15 months?
Okay.
If that is not there, this pediatrician is going to ask you questions. How is the feeding?
How is the feeding?
He will administer some drugs. Will administer some guidance. Now, that's the guidance we expect from government. Now, quite often in policy making, we say government should. No, government doesn't have to do. Government should ensure. The pediatrician is not about to take away your child. But they know we must ensure between me and you that this child is getting what they need. And it is you going to do it. So there are many times government has been lured into taking over. And yet its role should have been to ensure. And the government, people should recognize we have a poor government because we have a poor economy. With a budget of 52.7 trillion and URA was expected to raise 2.9, you already have a shortfall of borrowing. But even I was not comfortable that we'll raise the 2.9 and the shortfalls are already coming through. That is clear. Because URA doesn't pick money from a swimming pool.
Exactly.
It picks from me and you. If I decide to walk, that taxi is not going to move. If that taxi doesn't move, that fuel has not been consumed. And that tax has not been paid. So what is poor URA supposed to do? When me and you are not consuming. And we know government policy has been to curtail demand over the last 2 years of curbing inflation. Basic economics.
True. Dr. Munza, now there is something here, you don't agree with the aspect of industrialization as a game changer for this economy in terms of improving income inequality. How do you defend that? Why do you not agree with industrialization? Yet the president looks at, and the Uganda Investment Authority look at industry as the game changer for this nation.
Yeah, I think we are stuck in the Industrial Revolution, and we know the world has moved on. Yesterday, I had a chat with a friend and he said, who is offering 5G in Uganda? Now, that doesn't speak to a lira spinning mill, 5G. And the youth are speaking to that. So the era of the Industrial Revolution, the way we knew it, the spinning mill, the whatever, these conveyor belts, cars coming off here, and then they are sprayed here, and then the seats are fitted here, and then the battery is fitted here, the electronics, and then there's a test track, and everything is being done in Birmingham. It's being done in Bavaria. Remember Bavaria Motor Works? Be my wife, the BMWs. That history is gone.
It's gone.
That history is gone. And it's not going to come back. We are still having cars, but which are being made from what we call diverticalization. Different parts of the world.
Okay.
I will have a phone, iPhone. Certainly it's an American phone, but not made in America. All they did was a design. So the real industrial factory making the phones is not even in one country. A bit is made in Australia, a bit is made in Thailand, a bit is made in Vietnam, and this phone is finally assembled in Ethiopia. Yeah. And then a Ugandan gets it. So you need to begin understanding, now that the global industrial chains have been broken up for all sorts of reasons, and they are not coming back, what part of that chain should I be in as Uganda? Because now you want to do what lions do. We need to eat this giraffe. It is up there, 12 meters. We are just 1.5 meters ourselves. How do we bring it down? No single lion is going to go for it. They attack it jointly. Now, once down, we begin to share our portions. So you want to say, in the current dispensation of industrialization, how do I structure myself? Not an industrial park in Wikwe, Namamve, Arua, Mbale. No.
Sure.
Such a thing is not going to happen. You can end up with an assembly point. That's not a bad deal. You can end up with a primary processing part. We used to process copper at Ginger, the copper smelting. That was the part of Ginger. But it gave us mileage in the 50s and in those early years. But it was a whole chain of the British copper industry. So you want to come in there. We are refining gold here in Entebbe. This gold is coming in from outside countries. Our part, our niche is the refining.
Refining, yeah.
It gives us access to $2.2 billion a year.
$2.2 billion.
Yes, of export of that gold.
Okay.
Now, not the entire 2.2 is for Uganda, because we net off where we paid as the gold was coming in.
Okay.
But you're already part of a big thing. I was watching a kilo of gold is now over $2,500. So even if I was to get 15% of that, man, that's good money. So gold, which began less than 10 years ago, is multiplying coffee by 2.5 times.
So coffee, can I say coffee may not be...
No, you don't want to throw it away. Cocoa in Uganda is not there. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, the biggest producers of cocoa, are getting over $10 to $12 billion per year. Those two countries, out of cocoa. But the cocoa trade is 100 billion globally. So they are getting 12% of that. But this is $6 billion.
Global.
You'll never get that from your oil in Albertine region. But you can grow cocoa in Uganda. Now that's speaking to, should I be industrializing by building an industrial park in Buikwe? Or should I actually get into my boots, walk into Bundibujo, and say, guys, I need cocoa from here. What should I be doing now? Ukraine and Russia are quarreling over each other. But I have the entire Lango sub-region can be working an oilseed industry. Sim, sunflower, soybean. Chiegegwa area in Fort Portal, Kienjojo area in Fort Portal can do the same thing. Which other place can give me this? Now, this you can realize within 1 year.
Okay.
Because soybean is 3 months, 4 months. Sunflower is 4 months, 5 months. So within 1 year, I can touch the giraffe that I've brought down. But how do I muscle up my thinking, my logic, to get this down? And this is also speaking to, now, the macroeconomics. Increased exports. The dollars are here. You can import. You have balanced your thing. But remember, it is directly touching the population down. So when you say growth has happened of this much, the farmers who grew the cocoa felt it.
Felt it. Exactly.
That's inclusive growth. That does not require PDM. Because the redistribution happens by you participating. You don't wait for handouts. Saba government at Yambe, when is the president passing by here, MPs give us something. No. The production process in economics itself says you will get it. As we said, for this child to grow, add weight to age, all they need is to eat. The body knows how to address the legs, the brain, the hands, the child will pop up.
So doctor, your opinion is that, okay, it's like you're driving towards agriculture. But
agriculture and industry don't say this will give it to me. And the present statistics were very clear. But when you break them down, you actually begin to see the problem with industrialization, which we have seen for long. One, we have 8,000 factories. How many jobs are they giving us? About 800,000. Now that means each factory is giving you 100 jobs. Is that how you're going to employ the 18.7 million who are not in employment, not in education, not in training? So you want to rethink. If each factory is giving me 100 jobs, I have a problem. I need to change the model. Secondly, what are we paying? Less than 150,000. Is that how you're going to drive demand and meet the needs of these youth? Again, you have another problem. So you begin to say, maybe the era of industrialization is over.
What if it's
but not dead?
What if it's agro-based?
That is taking us to agriculture.
Agriculture.
Where we said, what are you processing?
But
it was copper. It was copper in Ginger. But the British were very meticulous. Built that whole metal line from Mombasa to the foot of the Rwenzori Mountains.
Okay.
To get the copper out. Then they said we need to smelt it. They spent more money, allegedly, it's a donation. But it's a selfish interest. We must smelt the copper at Ginger. They gave us a dam. You can still take advantage of those kinds of things. So industrialization should not sit that this is the means of trade and industry. No. Who is going to buy from the industry is not in industry. who is going to give you the input in the industry is not in industry. So the siloism of government mandate, this is my ministry, should not happen. That's why actually cabinet, they sit on Mondays. Cabinet should be sitting to say, how do we pull off this agenda?
Yeah.
So I don't even want to see a cabinet paper on industrialization, because industrialization is part of the bigger picture.
The bigger picture.
We remember the industries of Lugazi and Kachira when they came up. What else came with them? Hospitals, schools. They are in those factories,
Around those areas.
Around those areas. Because the children of the workers need to go to school.
They need to go to hospitals.
They need to go to hospital. So you begin already to see that even as I'm talking about industrialization, Kachira and the Meta and Lugazi and the Kinyara, you're already in education, you're already in energy, you're already in health, and local administration.
Okay.
People are going to commit crime there. You need a police post. Kaworo Hospital is not just like a small place. So you begin to see the whole setup that to pull off an economy is not going to be a siloed conversation.
Okay.
It's going to be the ground attack harmonized with the air attack. Those are the kinds for me that we need to be looking into.
Very, very interesting. And in just 2 minutes before we get into the break, just 2 minutes because
no problem.
I'm told that we are out of time. Are we doing enough when it comes to our competitive advantage agriculture?
We are not, as I've said, and it's a question of how have you conceptualized it.
Oh, okay.
Football is not played by kicking the ball, it's played by the strategy the guy gave. And a bit of that strategy is leaked. 4-4-2, 4-3-4. But don't expect those guys to be there. The guy who's going to score the goal was not among the two in front. That's strategy.
Very interesting. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm still with Dr. Muhumuza Fred. He's an economist. I'm here at Makerere University Business School, and we are still discussing matters to do with income inequality, demographics. What is the way forward for this economy? Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.
Jovia ng'oyolekera ku lugendo luno olw'obulamu nkuwa ekirabo eky'amaanyi agatazizibwa, amaanyi okulabibwa n'okuwulirwa mu mawanga ag'ewala ennyo, okutuuka buli wamu nga yadde togenzeeyo, ensi yonna ng'ekuli mu ngalo. Okutambula mu biseera n'okumanya buli kimu ekirina okumanyibwa. Jovia, kino kye kirabo kyange gy'oli.
Tewali kkubo ku ki gy'osobola okukola ku mukutu nnandameggwa ogwa MTN.
This Boxing Day, get plenty footy on us with a Premier League takeover. Plenty stars, plenty wins, plenty games, all on Boxing Day.
Special beyond special!
Because when you get plenty, so stay connected to DSTV and get plenty on the move with DSTV Stream.
Smart 24, driving business.
We'll be back from the break. Smart means business and definitely income inequality demographics, the biggest, the topic of discussion definitely today. And I'm still with Dr. Mohomo Afraid here at Makerere University Business School. We are breaking down these matters. Now, Doctor, we've been seeing something very interesting. You've mentioned all aspects. You mentioned agriculture, industry is not favorable and all those. But then, I still wanted you to throw a light to Ugandans. Of course, when you take a look at because the economy itself is like a machine, and it works in a certain way. There is the aspect of productivity and credit in an economy. Yes. And given the fact that in Uganda today, with the central bank rate maintained at 9.5%, which brings commercial borrowing list at about 12 to 13%, so it can even go beyond that. And
commercial borrowing is actually 18%.
Actually, yeah.
For prime borrowers.
Prime borrowers.
That must be put in. There are not many.
Okay.
Shell is a prime borrower. Andrew and Homes are not prime borrowers. And we are the basic common fabric.
Common farmer.
Yes.
Yeah. So, looking at these factors, most especially, I'm going to focus more on credit because we are trying to see the income inequality demographics. You know, how is it standing at like here for our economy in terms of credit? And when we talk about long-term and short-term debt cycles, where are we as a country right now, 2024?
It's very interesting, really, the terminology you've used, and really, smart may mean business, but must actually be smart business.
Smart business.
Yes, you are in the right words. Yeah. When you talk about long and short term, people think access to credit is, I went to the bank this month and got money.
Got money.
The bank is not looking at, this is January, you've gotten money. They are really looking at, we have lent you for 3 years.
Okay.
So we are committed to you and you're committed to us for the period of 3 years.
3 years.
So we are going into 2027. I will be checking what business do you do. Those are the risks we talk about. Now the bank has a prerogative to do 2 things, maybe 3. 1, add that risk which they see on your borrowing rate. So this man is a risky borrower. His business may collapse in 2026. By then, we should have gotten so much money out. The best way to get that is put a higher rate. But even if Andrew defaults and Mumza does not, because we'll put them at a higher rate, Mumza will help us recover something that Andrew lost out. They do that because they're looking at a pool of borrowers. So they're not looking at you getting money in January. They are saying your nature of business for the next 3 years, how is it going to go on? In there, I'm going to plug in Uganda's elections.
Okay.
Is there any way these election cycles will disrupt your business? I put that in. I am going to plug in the anti-homosexuality and suspension of World Bank loans and all those kinds of things. They may not be directly related to you, but remember these were the ones feeding the roads. They were triggering a lot of other activity in the economy. They were stabilizing the exchange rate. So without the World Bank loan, without this, where would the exchange rate be? This man is affected by the exchange rate. I'm factoring in all those. Now I can make a decision to put a risk markup. I can say, Andrew, sorry, we're not going to lend to you. You won't pick this. And you will quarrel. Or we'll defy you. Go back and revisit. All sorts of things. And when you look through the data, in the 3 months, I think up to coming to November or coming to October, the applications for loans were about 8.7 trillion.
8.7 trillion.
In the banking sector.
Okay.
The banks could only give 5.1 for these reasons. There are people who need loans, but we are saying, not all of you qualify for these reasons. Now, so when the cost of borrowing is being driven by partly the risk in the economy, what should government do to bring the interest rate down?
Exactly.
You go back, what should government ensure? You ensure less risks in the economy. Because that will automatically translate into lower costs. Because businesses are likely to succeed. I see the trajectory, the long term of this business, it can succeed and pay back my loan. So I get in there. What is the legal jurisdiction? Government should ensure, because that is within its space. It's not going to preside over judges, but it will have to ensure. I like Justice Sekana's rulings. Many times people pick interest. Now he has said, landlords, you can break into this guy's property. A guy rents your house 2 million per month. For 6 months he hasn't paid. You are calling him. He's not picking. He's not anywhere. But he left the building occupied and locked. Man, if you can't pay me, at least you go out and I find another opportunity. Now, these are constraints on the real estate sector that the banks are watching. That the people who lent money to build apartments and stores and what are not being paid, and they cannot enforce to get their business flowing again. The person is not paying, you can't bring in another one who will pay because the other one has the way. So I'm watching the judiciary. What decisions are they making? That ruling is going to open up a lot of spacing and remove a lot of risk that was causing the 8.7 trillion application and the 5.4. Because some of these are in real estate. And we are saying real estate is not moving. Now with that ruling, we know the real estate managers can now unlock themselves from an unholy alliance and pick a holy alliance. That's for government to ensure that it happens. All those will lower the cost of borrowing. Now, the 9.5 central bank rate is a signal. Most people think the rate came down, why didn't the other rates come down? No, the real operative rate is what you call the rediscount factor. Or the rediscount rate and the bank rate. If a bank goes to borrow from the central bank, at what rate is it borrowing? It's about 11-12%. So if I've borrowed money from the central bank at 12%, I lend it to Andrew at what rate? Certainly not 12.
Definitely, because I'm
a middleman now.
It's more profitable with a central bank than me, so you have to charge me a high interest.
So I have to charge because if whatever I charge you, 12% will be going back to the central bank where I pick the money. I'm a financial intermediary. I don't lend my own money. I pick other people's money and lend it to you. Now, when people give me their money, they expect me to give them a return. That return in the banking sector in Uganda is at 12-13%. That's not bank money. So now I begin from there to put my operational costs. I need to pay my workers, pay rent, electricity, and the rest of the things. I add on the risks we talked about. I add on the profit of my owner. I'm expected to be a profitable bank.
Exactly.
By that time, I'm on 24%. Sorry. I can't lend you at 19 unless you are prime. Borrower who will not give me a hassle. Now, those are the dynamics you want to engage that process. Don't make it a political talk and an emotional talk. Banks must lower the rates. No, go and address the real drivers of those rates. And those drivers are some of them sitting in monetary policy, the 9.5%, but more so the 12% rediscount and bank rate. That's why we begin not at 9.5. Plus, who has driven that if I'm not borrowing from the central bank, and many banks don't have to, they go and borrow from each other. 7-day borrowing can be 9%, can be 8%, can be 11%. That you borrow money for 7 days, bring back my 1 billion plus 70 million in 1 week. What did they do with that money? Those are the real costs you want to address. We're setting those fiscal policy. If government says I need 3.5 trillion and I'm going to borrow it domestically, Andrew, who was planning to set up a factory in the industrial park in Buikwe, would say, why bother? Let me take my 10 billion into treasury bills, into fiscal bonds.
Exactly.
Because they are promising me 15%. Meaning 10 billion, they will give me 1.5 billion interest per year for the next 10 years or 15 years. And they have put a sweetener, will tax you 10% if you do this. But should you set up that factory, will tax you 30%. The signal is clear. And will be crazy to go back to Wikwe. Your industrialization agenda is being undermined by your own fiscal policy. But remember, you're trying to do fiscal policy to be that industrial park. But you are negating the very decision that you wanted to. So those are the signals you want to come back and say, are my economic policies harmonized, synchronized, and are they the right ones? Because I'm going to put my money, 10 billion in the central government, go home and sleep. Wake up every morning, they have given me my 1 year, 1.5 billion. You divide that by 12 months in a year. That's about 120 million per month. Who can spend that much a month? When you are sleeping and relaxing, you send your children to Dubai.
Amazing. Now, Doctor, that's very amazing. Now, the central bank rate being at 9.5%.
Yes.
And we've mentioned 18%. Don't you think that is kind of limiting investment and creating new opportunities? Because I'm trying to imagine with the productivity, because productivity is more of long term.
Yes, it is long term. Yeah.
So we are not yet there, and even the credit that we can actually rely on is also non-favorable.
Yes, it is not.
So as a policy analyst and advisor in that perspective, how do we create a balance of these two, productivity and credit to enhance incomes of Ugandans?
I think that's the conversation. You want to go back and say, fine, I want to drive productivity up.
Exactly.
What are the drivers of productivity?
Yeah.
It's basically productivity. Is it of labor? Is it of capital? Now, laborers, we say skilled Ugandans, and we have so many skilled Ugandans. But the capital they are using is expensive, bringing down that composite of productivity.
Okay.
The laborer can work well, needs IT, but the data is expensive. So it doesn't matter what you did to produce that phone, we will use the labor you did in plus the cost of data. So you want to say, let's borrow and invest in IT to lower the cost of data. I'm raising productivity. But also now, as we've said, if the cost of credit is high, it is going to undermine the productivity. Because I will not change the machines to the modern ones because I can't afford the new machines. So my productivity remains locked up at the lower level. So there are many complicated things that you want to say, this is what I want to achieve. Can I walk backwards? The pediatrician we talked about is going to say, why is the problem with this child? Worms, certain other underlying infection, feeding. You don't just say, hey, go and feed the child. No, you want to diagnose that whole problem in order to get the result you want. So there are so many things that we need to address in the structure of the system. Productivity rate of our viewers is how much do you produce per person or per day. I have fellows who have invested. Electricity connection they have done everything. They are into maize milling. Their maize mills are running 2 days a week. So the productivity of that machine, for the 2 tons that it crushes in those 2 days, you divide it by the 7 days.
7 days.
That is going to be very low productivity compared to if it was running all the 7 days. So why are they running 2 days a week? It might be because the electricity is expensive, but they don't mind because that cost is passed on to the one who brings the maize. Now it is the maize that is not coming in. They don't want to start a machine, run it for 2 hours, and the maize is over.
It's over.
So the conversation we have had with them in our field surveys at the forum, they would say, I wait for the maize to pile up. So some of it comes in on Monday, I put there, Tuesday, I put there, Wednesday. Now Thursday, when I've raised enough maize to run the machine for a day, I start it. And partly because the fellows who work here, I pay them daily. So I don't want them to come on Monday and there is only work for 3 hours. I'm not making money. So I'll bring them when I know I'm going to engage them the whole day. Now, to solve that productivity issue, you go back upstream. Where is the maize coming from? Can we increase maize supply? But also, where is the maize going? Because I don't want to just grind it. Some of the limitations, because when we grind it, we have nowhere to sell it. Aflatoxin, Kenya has blocked, I don't know what, the roads are bad, all sorts of things. So productivity is really sitting at the end point, and we need to go back, opening up like a binary tree. If you take that direction, what do you find? If you take this direction, what do you find? If you go further down, what do you find? Is it extension service issue? Is it the skills they go to are not the right ones? Could they be skilled and everything, but they are sick? A sick employee is not going to work. We are going back to Kakira, where it has a hospital in. They very well know. If your child is not yet in school, you're not going to concentrate. Your mind is, my child is not in school. Mommy, when am I going back to school? That you can't settle in office. So your productivity is lowered. So it's a whole network of things that must be in place. And I always tell people the military is one of the most efficient establishments.
Military.
And you want to learn from how they plan a war. How am I going to evacuate the sick? They are going to be there. Those injured, they are going to be injured.
Going to be there, yes.
Some of them will need immediate treatment on the ground, but then evacuation. How would I continue the supplying of the bullets? Remember, this AK-47 is rolling out 500 bullets per minute. This guy needs to get magazines coming up.
Exactly.
That whole chain is starting from the store and the armory, which might be Nakasongola, but the way is in Gulu.
Okay.
That whole chain is addressed. The food, the fuel, the logistics. We have operations today, it's expensive. You hear our choppers falling here and there. They are being overworked, possibly. I don't know the reasons. But I can imagine that whole line is being supplied by choppers. Now, so in Uganda, you start a factory, you don't even know where the maize will come from. What kind of thinking?
You don't even know the market where you're going to sell.
You don't know where you're going to sell. You don't know where the man to repair the fuse when it breaks down, leave alone where the fuse is. The military has no margin of error. If you pull that trigger and the bullet doesn't go, the other guy's bullet is coming to you. So how can you use the military ideas to translate them into the mainstream? Doctors in theater, they would have ticked all the boxes. You don't start and say, now there is no blood. Don't start that operation. which you clearly know we need blood. And then you're making a phone call, blood bank, do you have group A and B? No way.
So, Doctor, now that brings me back to that when you say that access to information.
Yes.
Financial inclusion, financial intelligence.
Yes.
So how was that? So how can we improve that? Because I come to realize that however much the government has a huge responsibility. Now bring it back to the individual basis. What do I need to know right now? The way things are standing in 2024 for me to do a business efficiently and I prosper in this economy. However staggering it is.
I think there is this famous man, I don't want to take away his credit, who said, you are not really poor, it's your brain. Now, most people think money is the answer. No, money is facilitating a solution. If you don't have a solution, don't touch the money. Because you lose it. And you won't get a solution done, the problem solved. And worse still if you're using other people's money. Because you won't get the money back, you won't get the problem fixed, but you have added another problem. The money lender needs his money on Saturday. So a lot of people think money, and that's why you say financial literacy, financial access. How do you get into the money markets? They are very risky, dicey markets. Money is attractive. It can make you eat what you didn't plan to eat. How are you going to behave and say, I have 20,000, but I'm not going to get soda? Because the 20,000 I have a bigger problem than a soda. I can survive without it. That's financial literacy. And comes with the discipline. What should I do? What should I not do? I see so many people walking home, and as I'm teaching my students, I'm like, do you think those guys are poor? No, the poor are managing their money. Each of those guys has some 5K or 10K, but they have decided to walk. The taxi is there. But they are saying, if I can walk, let the money solve what I cannot solve on my own. The medical bill at the health facility, the rent, and I don't know, Yaka.
Yaka, yes.
Working, I can. They are managing scanty resources. So we need to get into those spaces and say, it's not just dishing out money to people. And financial inclusion, you're not going to teach other people how to manage small monies when you have never handled small money yourself.
Exactly.
Many of them know what to do. But you only want to give them advice to say, don't commit your money with haste. Somebody has a salon, I should also set up a salon. I have just picked my retirement from NSSF. Let me set up a salon. And then you pay rent up front. 4 months, 200,000, 800 goes. You buy all the equipment, you buy everything. And then you sit in that salon and 2 heads turn up to be worked on that day. One is paying you 20K, another is paying you 5K. So 25,000 a day. You have 3 boys and 2 girls. You have rent, you have... So make an informed decision. Do what we call market research. I want to set up a salon in this area. How many others are there? What kind of people live here? Because we're not going to move from where you get it to come to your salon in Kansanga. Tap the Kansanga market. Now, some people will have advanced salons. They will also say, we can do weddings outside. But you must get to that level, because a wedding is not what anybody wants people playing in their eyes and making it wrong. That may not be your market to target. So I think financial inclusion comes back with what is the nature of business you want to deploy your money into. And most people will say it is my business. No, it has never been your business. Smart TV is not your business. It is those guys out there's business. If they decide not to watch, no advert. You won't have a commercial break.
Exactly.
But it's the commercial break that gives you the money. Not Muhums are here talking. But Muhums has been part of that strategy. So set it up for them. What do you want to offer them? Are they available? Is that the kind of market you need? Serena is for its class. Africana for its class. And whoever wakafunda down there, Tondinyira, they are not tables, they are not chairs, they are plastic plates. Sometimes we eat commando in Kavera. That is their class. If that guy ever dares to say, I'm tired of feeding people in Kavera, I'm going to bring plates, that cost will add on the plate. The fellows will walk away.
Now, Doctor, how do we put this information out there to the normal Ugandan? Because sometimes when we speak these terms, they sound complicated. But a few of us who might understand, but a big percentage is illiterate. So how are we putting initiatives to push this knowledge of financial intelligence inclusion to the rural areas?
Many times we think we know it and we don't. I've told every student of mine, go and read an article, The Poor and Their Money. As I've said, those guys walking to wherever walk to work and back to from work, they have money, but they are managing their money. Now, for us, we come and design a program at university, at government level. We are going to teach them how to manage money. You're actually earning you yourself from that teaching. You're not even communicating to them because, first of all, you don't understand them. You have never woken up and found you have 5,000 shillings and you have a sick child to treat. In which case now you have to leverage society's money. So they survive in social networks. They must be nice to that nurse who sells the drugs in the community where they live. They must be nice to the head teacher. When the child come, we'll see how we settle it. Even the grocery store where they pick their quarter kilo of sugar, they are managing their money.
Exactly.
The one they have and the one they don't have, but they are surviving. Now, how do you teach such a person? And we brandish them illiterate. They are not.
They are not illiterate.
That is our own laboring on them. And you are going to go with that mind. Guys, I am here, the expert. You are illiterate. How many children are being born outside the hospital? They are being born. It is risky. But those traditional birth attendants are doing a big role. We shouldn't sanitize it. But you can't ban it. And they have done it for decades. They have lost some, just like we lose some in hospitals. So you cannot say those are illiterate. Understand those dynamics.
Probably in terms of understanding some of these economic terms and
they understand them in their own way.
In their own way.
So we must go into them. What we call like a cross-sectional study, sit with the population, understand their language. When you go to Karamoja, you're not going to pull out Museveni's chair and begin to speak to the Karamojong. We sit down, we chat. When they have their manyata, they don't know about a toilet. Open defecation welcomes you from miles away. No, you're not going to come and say, these guys, I think I can't even teach them. No, that's where you have gone. So we do not understand the people we want to teach. Okay. But that does not mean we have no messages to share with them. Go in and understand where they are coming from. Understand their way of life.
And why they do what they do.
And why they do what they do. I've been downtown, and my friends have been down, and we've surprised each other. There are billions sitting in people's homes. Because they can't apply to a bank which would take another time. I have an opportunity. Congolese want a car. They have gold. That transaction goes on there. So downtown, you're sitting there and the guy comes and give him some 200,000. You think 200,000 shillings. Dollars.
Okay.
Not even the bank has lent that much. This guy, without signing anywhere, will pull out a drawer, give the guy the bundles, and off he goes, without signing anywhere.
Where?
Now, until you understand those fellows, you'll say they are illiterate.
Illiterate.
But that guy has been in that business for 10 years. He owns wealth. His business has been growing bigger than your business on Kampala Road. Do you want to call him illiterate? Do you want to go and teach him financial literacy? You only want to tell him, man, it is risky to keep all this money here.
Okay.
What if thugs come? What security measures do you have? Now, he has covered that himself. But he may not have ticked all the boxes.
Okay.
But if your bank is not going to be as efficient to meet his needs, he's not bringing his dollars to the bank. Because remember, his people turn up at 2, and at 2 they want to walk off with their money. And that's why we said, let's bring agent banking. So whether banks close or not, agent banking is the way to go.
Is the way to go. All right, Doctor, it's been a pleasure to have you on this discussion.
Privilege, and please, Happy New Year, our viewers.
Yes.
Get out there. You are literate. You know what you're doing. We just want to add a little bit value. The child is yours.
Exactly.
The pediatrician should not take away that child, but don't throw away the pediatrician.
All right. Thanks for being part of the show. My guest this morning has been Dr. Mahomes Afraid. He's an economist here at Macquarie University Business School. And definitely thanks for keep watching Smart 24 TV, and of course, above all, Smart means business. And definitely I want to wish you a productive day. Go be productive. It's a new week, new strategies, and well, it's still a new year. Happy New Year. Till tomorrow, good morning.